Oh, we got fire on the... I can't tell who's enemy and who's not. Everyone's sort of wearing the same baggy pants, I'm going to be honest. If you would so let me today, I wanted to talk about Insurgency Sandstorm, a game that's been, well, through some of the most tumultuous times, never quite knowing if it was going to survive the acquisitions or the layoffs at the company. New World Interactive, though, are finally what seems to be back in the swing of things, and I am absolutely loving this game. You see, Insurgency Sandstorm started off with a bang. Coming after the first game, there was a lot of hype for a title made on Unreal Engine 4 that looks and sounds this good, and even to this day it does. But in the last couple years, there's been a lot of issues with updates. They've been very few and far between until the last 6 months or so, where it's really just been an absolute sleuth of new content. In June, we got Operation Crisis, which gave us the train yard map inspired by the Gulf War. This had environments with car wrecks and train remnants, as well as a few extra weapons like American precision snipers and a British long-range rifle as well. Now, all of these updates came with plenty of DLCs, and even to this newest, on December the 5th, we got Operation Resurgence for update 1.17. And of course, well, that brought us plenty of new cosmetics. Okay, they're going a little bit crazy with the cosmetics, I'm going to be honest, but all of these are free. Don't get me wrong, there are some weapon packs and, of course, some weapon skins that you can play with. But there's so much free content being added into the game that, well, it's kind of having the effect you'd expect. The player count is rising and the servers feel so full. In fact, when I was actually loading into the multiplayer servers, it took such a short amount of time to get into them. And as you can see, this game just still looks absolutely gorgeous. I am one for playing hardcore checkpoint because players versus AI is fun in most occasions. Players versus AI when it's against really hardcore bots that will actually flank you, that will actually test your abilities, and of course, with other real players that test your disabilities, it makes for some very, very fun games. Not to mention the lack of kill feed, the lack of name tags. I mean, you have no idea what's going on half the time, who's an enemy and who's a friendly, especially in this case, when we were playing as the terrorist faction or the insurgents, and it meant that we were so used to playing as the US that, yeah, there was a lot of team killing at the start. But it was so much fun getting back into this game, and I couldn't recommend it at a better time. The reason I'm making a what's the point kind of video is because I made one of these last year when Insurgency was possibly at its worst possible state. We hadn't seen any good updates for a long, long time, and in fact, people were being laid off left, right, and center. It was almost at a point where the game was going to be shut down entirely and development would stop. But I'm so glad in the last year that we've seen this resurgence. I mean, I guess pardon the pun, because that's what they call the latest update. We got the new AR-1790. It is a fantastic weapon. Of course, a great accuracy and power with this thing. We also have a few extra guns, like the new Insurgency and security weapon, the F-2000s as well. It is a very fast-firing weapon that you can use for both of the factions within the game as well, along with some of the cosmetics. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's no new maps here, but there is a new skirmish mode. I haven't yet played it, but this brings me on to the most important part of this new update, and this is global crossplay, which I think is a very interesting addition. Look, I think crossplay is, on the most part, a great idea for most games. But there have been issues that we've seen in more hardcore shooters, like your Hell Let Loose, your squads, and your insurgencies, where crossplay can have a bit more of a negative effect. And we've seen this very recently in Hell Let Loose, with crossplay coming into the game, and it's kind of changed the way the game functions. Nobody's speaking, nobody's communicating, and that is a core feature of a title like HLL. And unfortunately, that's just the way it's gone. It is still early, so maybe it will settle down, or maybe the console players will start to understand the way that the game was made to be played. But so far, I'm kind of seeing a similar thing in Insurgency Sandstorm. Nobody's really speaking. Nobody's really communicating. And while it's a bit less important because it's a smaller scale game, there is still that issue of, is this crossplay going to completely affect the way that the player base has formed? Is it necessarily a bad thing? Probably for the existing player base, but if it brings in a huge influx of new people, I think you could gain some positives out of it as well. But nonetheless, there's been some fantastic additions to the title. I mean, the map that you're seeing on screen came in maybe a year ago or so, but it's still fairly recent compared to, well, a lot of the stuff that we've had since the very, very beginning. The player community itself, though, is as passionate as it's ever been. From competitive clans to the more casual players, which we're seeing more and more with the crossplay and updates like such. I mean, there is a niche for everybody. A lot of people do love the more competitive player versus player action, or, like in this case, the co-op against really strong and powerful bots. Some people do have concerns about the balancing of the matchmaking, but it does seem that New World Interactive keep addressing them with community feedback, and this is what seems really great. Now we're having some sort of communication with the developers themselves that, with this extra bit of content, is bringing players back into the game. But there's more. You see, the modding community is thriving. There are mods popping up left, right, and center with new maps and new game modes that are so easy to download on Insurgency Sandstorm's launcher itself, which can only bring more people into the title. From custom maps to weapon skins, I mean, it is... I've not delved into it all that much, but it is very, very impressive. Of course, though, no game is without its flaws. Sandstorm has been making strides recently, but there are still some lingering issues. Matchmaking times have kind of resolved themselves at this point in time, as I mentioned. With the new update and the influx of crossplay players, they're a lot quicker. But if we see it go back to where it was before, where you'd be waiting 5, 6, 7 minutes for a game, that could, well, start to shoo players away. But that brings me on to what's next. With the recent updates wrapping up, we're heading into 2025, and that's where we can see where the developers are going to handle future content. Whether it's more maps, which I think is probably the most likely, expanded modes are probably less likely so, but there is also talk of a sequel in the future. Now those talks have kind of died down. I think it's probably good to address what they were about. You see, this was way before any of the acquisition was going on, and New World Interactive definitely are not in a position to be making a next Insurgency game, because Sandstorm itself was such a big jump up from the first game, and I'm sure they'd want to do something similar if they made an Insurgency 3 or whatever the tagline is going to be this time. And they probably should get themselves in a more stable position before they do so. So that's the current state of Insurgency Sandstorm in 2025. Whether you're just jumping into the fray the first time or you've been here since day one, I still think there is a lot to love about the game. And in fact, I still think it's probably worth picking up even now. But let me know what you think. Do you think Sandstorm is back on the right track, or there's still some ways to go for the title? I'm kind of stuck in the middle, but I'm fingers crossed that this is a sign of things to come.
I died. Oh.
I can't load it in a different mag. That's a shame. Just trying to get rid of a mag.
You
Not
don't.
in a very good position.
I'm not real. Oh, why is that door open? Don't do that.
Don't know how I'm still alive. Somehow. Ah! I'm in an awful position here. No worries, son.
The end of...
It's me!
No, that's an enemy shooting at you.
No, that was Jan.
Okay, but there was an enemy behind you shooting at you.
Nobody would shoot me in the right mind.
You see him there?
No, all I can see is the
He's not my concern right now.
supplies.
Oh, don't shoot me.
Okay. Oh my god, my life has just been saved while we're supplying. You just saved my life, son.
Oh, you can't close that door. That's a shame.
They're all upstairs. There's so many upstairs.
No, it's me, sir. Don't shoot me.
There's no one upstairs.
Oh, I'm gonna need some help here.
Come in. Where are you? Downstairs?
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
By the container.
No, by the front door.
Well, I drew that fire for you. I jumped behind you as they were shooting.